Koreas are marking 70 years since the start of the Korean War. Events to remember those killed 70 years ago and the veterans who have died since have a particular poignancy this anniversary.
70 years ago, on this June 25th, the Korean War broke out, leading to a military conflict that lasted over 3 years.
I think the thing about veterans is really interesting because it's just something that's part of our history that I feel like we should never forget. And I think, sometimes as students at KIS, we sometimes forget and almost take our present for granted. And so I think through Veterans Week, what I want to accomplish really is try to show and remind students that, this is kind of where we came from, and our world today wouldn't be what it is without really the effort of all these veterans.
How would you describe this year's Veterans Week Council?
I think it's a small but very dedicated group. They're creative, they've got some great ideas, they've come up with a solid plan for activities that week. I've been very impressed with their organization and communication skills.
And what made you choose the Korean War for this year's Veterans Week?
All right, so rather conveniently, this year as 2020 is the 70th anniversary of the outbreak of the Korean War. And so I thought it was fitting that, we would go with that as the main theme for this year.
What made you sign up for Veterans Week Council?
I signed up for Veterans Week Council because I noticed the poor life quality that they were living in, despite their sacrifice that they have made for this country, and I wanted to raise awareness of the veterans.
In your opinion, what is the most difficult adjustment for veterans during coronavirus?
So I think for veterans, the thing we need to recognize is that many of those veterans are now quite elderly. And we know that coronavirus and COVID is that the elderly are more prone and more vulnerable to it. So I think it's probably had an impact on their mental health in terms of are they feeling safe, are they feeling secure? I also think that with things like lockdowns and restrictions in movement and gatherings, that it makes it difficult for veterans too, that they might feel more isolated. So I think it's really important that we try to reach out and support veterans during this time period.
How do you plan to develop Veterans Week in the future?
Again, I think it really comes down to what the students see as a need. I think that this is the first one. We will learn a lot from running the first one in terms of what's available and who's available in terms of getting resources to speak about the war and their experiences.
What is one thing you earned from being a part of the Veterans Week Council?
I think throughout the planning of the Veterans Week, I got to know more about some of the statistics of how poorly some Korean veterans are being treated compared to other countries. And also I got to know how many sacrifices have been made during the war.
And lastly, what is one thing you want everyone to learn about worldwide veterans?
I think what I want everyone to know is that everyone comes from such different cultures, and therefore, the kind of army backgrounds are so different. Like, I think even if we take like the Korean War as an example, there were so many different cultures coming together, and the fact that they were able to work together kind of, I guess, it shows that the world is never really divided when it comes to conflict. And I think that's really important.